This is Roger, Low Vision Product Manager here at HumanWare. In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of live magnification with Prodigi for Windows. So as you can see, I've already logged into Prodigi here, and I am on the carousel with the magnifier showing. As always, I can use a mouse if I'm on a computer or a laptop, or even a Surface tablet with a mouse connected to it. If I were using a touchscreen, I could use gestures like swipe and tap and so forth. But today I have my mouse and I'm going to go over and click on my Magnifier app to open it up. It will come online with my HoverCam Solo 8 and I see a document placed underneath of it. At the bottom of the screen is a toolbar with different items that we're going to explore in this video. In the bottom far left, circled in blue, is a back arrow. If I were to tap on this, I would return to the carousel where we were just a moment ago. Instead of doing that, I'm going to tap an arrow key on my keyboard just so that you can see things moving around on the screen via a keyboard. Again, another means of navigating items within the Prodigi interface. Let's tap it 4 more times. And you'll notice that it skipped over the minus sign there. That's because we are zoomed as far out as we can be right now. Our document is at 1x in a live viewing mode here. Now I can tap enter and it will zoom in incrementally. I can bring my mouse over and click on the plus sign and it will zoom in. I can press and hold with my mouse and it will zoom in rapidly. If I had a touch screen, I could use a pinch and zoom gesture on the screen to zoom in and zoom out. And you'll also notice that now, to the left of my plus sign, the minus sign is lit up. I can click on that to zoom back out, or I can press and hold to zoom all the way back out. Again, this can be done with a gesture by just pressing and holding on those 2 buttons. In the center of those 5 icons in the lower right is a camera. This is used to capture an image of what you're looking at. We'll come back to that in just a moment. Let's continue to the left one more, and you'll see 2 interlocking arrows that are pointing to the left and the right, sort of in a circular fashion. This is the rotate button. When I tap on this, my view will rotate 180 degrees. So I'll tap it again, and now I'm back in my upright position. So this can be handy if you have the need to rotate an image around on the screen. Again, we will come back to the camera in just a moment to show capturing, but let's go to that gear wheel, which is the furthest left of the 5 icons in the lower right of the screen, and click on that. This will show me the settings that are available to me when I'm in live magnification mode. First on the list, and most importantly, is my camera selection. Let's tap on that so you can see what's in there. And the way that I know that there are additional items there is to the right of camera, I see a right-facing arrow that tells me there's a submenu there. Let's click. So there I see my HoverCam Solo 8 Plus is my selected camera right now, but I also see 2 additional cameras that I could turn on if I would like. One is the integrated webcam that's part of my laptop, and the other is a Logitech webcam that I use for Zoom and Teams meetings. I don't want to use either of those right now. I want to stick with my document camera there. Again, recall any camera that is connected via USB should show up on this list for you to choose from. In the upper left, I have a back arrow. I'll tap that to return back to my settings, and we'll continue down the list. Notice to the right, there is a drawdown bar or arrows up and down that I can tap on. In this case, I can also use the arrows on my keyboard to come down to my brightness level. Let's adjust the brightness. I'll hit enter. So now I will see a live view of my document. And in the lower right, I will see brightness settings where I can increase the brightness with a plus. That's all the way to the lower right. You can see my image becoming brighter. And then to the left of where it says 70 now is a minus. I can tap that. I'm getting audio feedback as well. And and I can see that my image is getting darker here. 50 is our default setting. I'm going to set mine back to 50 and exit out of the brightness setting. In the lower left is the back arrow. I'll tap that and return to my settings. And next I will tap my down arrow one more time. Again, I can use my mouse here, or I could tap if I was using a touchscreen. I used my keyboard just to show you that you can navigate using your keyboard. Again, we have a submenu indicated by the right-facing arrow at the end of contrast being color. I'll hit enter on this, and you will see that there are 3 available contrast settings. Color, which is checked, that's our default, positive, and negative. Let's switch to negative by clicking on it with our mouse. In the upper right, I'll tap the back arrow, and I'll tap one more time to go back to my document so you can see the effect that had on my document. So what we have done now is eliminated all of the color, changed our background to white, and converted our textual elements to being in white. Again, in the lower right, I can continue to zoom in and zoom out on this. And for some individuals, this is a color contrast that works much better for them visually when they're looking at things on screen. Now, we just made this change to our contrast by going into the settings menu. This can also be accomplished with an on-screen gesture. There are 2 ways to do it on screen. One is with a touch screen. You can take your finger on the right half of the screen and swipe up or down. Or with a mouse, you can click and hold and drag your mouse up and down, which is what I'm going to do now. Click and drag. Now I'm back to color. I'll click and drag again. Now I'm in a positive view. I'll click and drag again. And now I'm in negative again, where we were just a few moments ago. So a little quick touchscreen or gesture that you can use to quickly move amongst the available contrasts. Let's go back to our settings menu. Click on this gear wheel, and we were in contrast, color, negative, and positive were the options there. Now notice there is another contrast color setting underneath of this. Let's go in there. You'll see that it is on default right now. Our defaults are black on white and white on black as contrasts that you will cycle through. Let's use the drawdown bar to the right to cycle down through the entire list of available color options. You can see that there are a wide variety to select from. So the user can find those that work best for them. I'm going to come back up and switch to black on yellow as my contrast color. And now I will show you what the effect of making this change is by tapping the back arrow in the upper left corner and going out to my document again. So again, recall our contrast right now was set to color, so I'm seeing my document in its full color format. Let's use that gesture. I'll do it going up this time. And now I can switch to a negative and a positive view. So we're using those blacks and yellows now as our contrast options. So again, we switched from our delete, and now we're using the blacks and yellows. So that is something to explore to find a color combination that might work best for yourself or the user. I'll go back down to the gear wheel now and go back into my settings, and we'll leave our contrast colors where they're set there. This time I'm going to use this down arrow in the lower right to navigate through my menu. And you will see that our mode presently is live. You've seen us in live mode each time that we've been using the magnifier. We haven't explored the camera yet. We will in just a moment, but there is another option if I click here that allows me to go into a multi-capture mode. I am going to explore this in another video so you can see what those settings look like when you're going into a multi-capture mode. Let's go back to our live mode here and take a look at our available options. And again, we will come back to that multi-capture mode in a second video. So you may have noticed sometimes when our document comes up, you will see sort of a quick zoom in and zoom out that our camera performs. That is because we have our autofocus unlocked. When it's unlocked, what this means is the camera is free to find the best focus that it can at all times. Let me come back out to my document here because I can switch between locked and unlocked right now. So it is locked. You'll see now that I have this autofocus locked on my screen here. We'll zoom in. Notice there is no change in the focus as the camera tries to refocus itself at this higher zoom level. I'm now going to put my hand underneath it here, and you'll see that it's not trying to focus on my hand. It's staying focused on that text on our document down there. As my hand gets closer to being at the same level as the document, it comes more into focus. So autofocus is very good for documents or items that are going to be at the same level all of the time, or in some cases for three-dimensional objects so that you can get focused in at one level of that object and lock in there. It's also good to use in situations where you're going to be writing or doing things with your hands underneath, so the camera is not always trying to focus. So again, autofocus lock is on right now. A little trick here. Again, we turned this on and off in our menu a moment ago. I can double click on the screen and turn my autofocus off. And there you saw the camera went and tried to find its focus again. So a double click turns it on, a double click turns it off. Likewise, with a touch screen, that would be a double tap with a finger to turn it on and a double tap with a finger to turn it off. So that's your autofocus and autofocus lock. Going back into my settings again here, let's use our arrow and come down. And let's take a look at speech documents, OCR enabled, and choosing OCR language. And this is going to make more sense in just a couple of moments because I am going to show you what that camera does when you're in live viewing mode. So let's take a look at speech first. I'm going to click on this, again, submenu with the arrow to the right there.
Speech menu, 3 items. Documents only, checked.
Darius is now reading and telling me what I'm seeing on the screen. Presently, I have him set to only read documents that I capture or do OCR on, which is optical character recognition. But let's see what happens if I arrow up on my keyboard to on
On,
and select that.
on, checked.
So now that is selected. Let's see what the effect is of having speech on if I exit out of these speech settings by clicking the arrow in the upper left corner.
Settings menu, 9 items. Speech, on, submenu.
A lot more reading going on there, audio feedback of where I am in Prodigi for Windows and what is on the screen and available to me. I'm going to tap the down arrow on my keyboard, although I could tap the screen where it says OCR enabled, just so you can see the effect of Darius being turned on all the time.
OCR, enabled.
I'll tap one more time.
Choose OCR language, submenu. OCR, enabled. Speech, on, submenu.
So in this setting, I will now have audio feedback of anything that I do in Prodigi for Windows. This can be super helpful if I have difficulty navigating the screen. It can also be helpful if I am using my keyboard as my navigation system because it's telling me what it is that I'm clicking on and where I am clicking into. I will use my mouse now to go back into that speech menu.
Speech menu, 3 items. On, checked.
I'm going to set it back to documents only
Documents only, checked.
by clicking onto it. At the bottom of the list, you see off. If I were to select that, there would be no audio feedback at all while I'm using Prodigi for Windows. There would only be sound effects that you hear as I make selections and make changes. But in terms of speech, there would be no speech to support my use of the software. Coming back up to the upper left, clicking the back arrow, let's come back out. You see that OCR is enabled here at the bottom of the list, and you can choose an OCR language. Let's take a quick look at what those mean. I'm going to exit my settings right now, and this is where I'm going to show you what happens when you use this camera button down in the center here. Before I do so, I'm going to go to my minus sign, press and hold, and zoom all the way back out just so you can see the document underneath my camera there. Now let's go to that center icon and tap on that camera so you can see what happens. So we've captured an image of the page. We've recognized the text. That's what OCR means, optical character recognition. I have that enabled right now. So Prodigi has gone ahead and recognized all of the letters on this page. So if I zoom in, we've also applied our diamond edge font to this text. So I basically have a font that is pure and perfect. There is no loss of clarity around the edges of this at all. You can zoom back out onto it here. So that's what it means when OCR is turned on. Let's tap this back arrow. We've captured it here. Let's tap this back arrow here again. Go into our settings, scroll down, and let's tap OCR to disable that. So you can see the effect of disabling optical character recognition. There's our document again. Let's tap the camera one more time. And in this case, we've only captured an image. Notice we didn't get the yellow boxes with text around it because we did not do that optical character recognition. But I can now zoom in on this document and go all the way up to 80 times on here. And I'm using the wheel on my mouse right now to do my zoom in and zoom out. So if you have, I'm going to bring that mouse over here. But if I do, remember I've set my contrast. Let's use that gesture. There I am. So I can still switch this, but it is an image now instead of a live document, which allows me to do things like click and drag or use a finger to move my document around on the screen. Notice my toolbar at the bottom has changed a little bit with this captured document. I'm going to cover that again in capturing documents video that I will record after this one. Let's go back over here to the left and back out of this image to our live view again. And I'm going to go into my settings again, go to the bottom of the list here, and let's re-enable OCR. I'll tap that. No submenu, there's no arrow to the right there. And then I see choose OCR language down here at the bottom of the list. It's the last option in settings here. Let's click on that and see what's in the submenu. So I can choose an OCR language. My current system language, as you've heard and seen, is English. Darius was reading in English to me, and my document that I've been capturing has been in English as well. I can use any of the installed languages on the system. The ones that you see at the top of the list here, English, French, and German, are the ones for which I have installed voices. Down below, there are languages across the spectrum. So let's go down and see what we have for P languages. Polish, Portuguese, Brazilian, and Provençal. Now, these can be utilized. Just beware, we may not have speech to support all of the languages that we can do OCR in. What's important about OCR is that we can retain all of the markup that may exist within a particular language. So accent marks and things of that nature. So let's come back out using that back arrow on the upper left and scroll back up to the top here. And then let's quickly just take a look at French. I'm going to switch to French now. I'll hit the back arrow in the upper left, and I'll hit it one more time to go back to my document. And very handy, my document happens to have French on the back side here. So we'll place that back underneath of here. And let's use our camera to recognize this page. So we've gone ahead and recognized all of that French text on the page there. And I'm going to have it start reading just so you can see what happens here. Again, I will cover this in more detail in another video, but I want to show it here very quickly. We can hold for about 1 second on La Planète.
LA Planeta Sirachov plus Repediment, Q Preview Lesars Polaires Sont Menaces.
Notice
Ils ont
my
besoin de glace pour
toolbar disappeared at the bottom. There was a tab left behind. That's a setting that I've turned on so that my toolbar will go out of the way when I'm using Prodigi to perform reading for me. But you should have also noticed as it was reading aloud there that Darius was reading. Darius is an English speaking voice. So when I have captured my French nicely here, I also need to tell the system by clicking the gear wheel settings again that I want to change my reading voice. I'll click on that. In this case, I know that Luis is my French voice, so I'm going to turn that voice on. Klaus is my German voice. So I'll turn Luis on, and then I will use the arrow in the upper left to back out, and I'll press and hold very briefly on that law again.
La planète se réchauffe plus rapidement que prévu. Les ours polaires sont menacés. Ils ont besoin de glace pour chasser les phoques, leur principale proie.
I'll bring my toolbar back up and pause. So now it will read nicely in French for this document. So I can quickly navigate back and forth between different languages to the extent that I need to. Remember, you can have up to 4 voices installed at any time on your system. So that is a quick overview of all of the settings that are available to you when you're in live magnification. Again, tune back in for those videos that go more in depth into capturing documents. We will do single documents like we're seeing now and go through those settings. And we will also take a look at multi-capture mode in those other videos. So thanks for watching this video. Please take a look at the description of the video. Go in there, find the link, find that feedback link. Let us know how we're doing. It's the only way we can continue to improve Prodigi for Windows and other HumanWare offerings to meet your low vision needs. Thanks for watching once more.